before we get started, today's episode does mention suicide briefly. If that's going to be tough for you to listen to, please feel free to stop listening now and come back another day for a different episode. So we're back talking about mouth cancer as part of Mouth Cancer Action Month, and have been speaking to different survivors who are really keen to share their story and raise awareness, which is always, big thumbs up from us because we couldn't do it without them. But yeah, back with Karen again. Taking up a lot of your time this month, I know, but here we are. And yeah, so now we're going to hear from Laura. So Laura Marston is a mouth cancer survivor. She makes lots of really good TikToks and videos about her journey post mouth cancer surgery. So she's 41. She's a HR director in Hertfordshire. And when she found out that she had mouth cancer, she was also told that almost her entire tongue would need to be removed. So she was left with 5 millimeters of her tongue left. And that's it. So she was then told, you're going to need a permanent feeding tube. You're never going to eat properly again. But she has turned that on its head and is actually made a cookbook for mouth cancer patients, from going from just liquid foods to purees, and talks about how she's able to enjoy the taste of food again, even though she doesn't have a tongue. And she's just an amazing woman, and we loved speaking to her. So
yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? And such positivity for other people going through that haven't quite reached her stage. They're in stages before where they perhaps can't see a future where they will be able to enjoy food again, and where they'll be able to function normally. And it's just such a brilliant thing to be able to give other people in the same position such hope. And it just shows the resilience of people, and I'm always in awe of people who can turn a situation and make it into a positive, which is absolutely amazing.
yeah, she does exactly that, through talking to us and doing her awareness activities. But also, like I say, we connected through the internet with her, through her TikTok and Instagram, and the videos that she makes are amazing. And she's so open about her journey and how she has learned to adapt after having her operation, and is cancer free, which is the biggest thing. But she's just, yeah, an incredible woman, and you'll see from our conversation just how amazing she is. Okay, so Laura, we obviously connected online, and you do a really good job of raising awareness of tongue cancer. Your TikToks are amazing, which is how we found you. But do you want to just tell us about you, like what are your hobbies, interests, where you're from, and just what makes you you?
Sure. I'm Laura. A lot of my family and friends call me Biz. Even my hospital team did at the Marston. I am married to my fabulous husband, John. They have recently adopted a cat. My hobbies, I like to do a thing called live action role play, which is like a giant fancy dress problem solving team building weekend with a couple of thousand friends and family. What makes me is that I'm quite an inclusive person. I have always been someone who likes to make sure everyone can have some food and feel included in anything that I do. My work, I'm an HR director for a small company that they've been very strong. And I absolutely love that. It means that I can get to talk to even more people sort of within my job, as well as the things I do outside of my work.
Amazing stuff. So yeah, it's great to get to know you a little bit more. Obviously, we're here to talk about tongue cancer and mouth cancer. You're really open about sharing your experiences, but if we go back a little bit, what were some of the first things that you thought were maybe like initial warning signs looking back?
So looking back, it was oh gosh, it was about 6 months before I was diagnosed, maybe longer than that, about 7 months before I was diagnosed. I had like an obsessive thirst. I was thirsty all of the time. And my mum has diabetes, so I was like, oh gosh, I wonder if. Had some tests done and no diabetes. So put myself to the dentist and I couldn't find any underlying issue. But they just got me booked in for like regular hygienist appointments and things. And then it was about September, October time of 2018, when sort of the back of my tongue had like a bit of a sore patch. But then it disappeared. So I thought maybe that I'd hit it with my electric toothbrush or when I did some toast or something. And because it went away, I wasn't bothered by it at all. Um, but then over time, sort of over Christmas and into the year, the pain in that area kept coming back, and then it would disappear again. But the times it would return remained like a day or two longer than the last time. And it wasn't until March of 2019, I was out with my sister, that I'd had a drink and I felt like that pain. And my sister was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I went, oh, my tongue, it really hurts now. And it's been for probably about 2 weeks continuous now. And so she went, let's have a look, let's see what's there. And so she had a look and was like, that looks awful. It's like a massive ulcer and like a hole. And I think they need to get that checked out. So I did. And I didn't think of going to a dentist. Um, and my reason is because in my head, the dentist, they look at those his and bums. And this wasn't, this was like the very back of my tongue. And plus, I've been to the hygienist not long ago, but around about October time, and they couldn't see anything. They just said it looked like I'd cut myself. So again, so I was like, oh, I'll book it for a doctor's appointment, and take it from there. And that took me a long time to get into the dentist. So that took me through to the end of April. I ended up at the doctor's, which was doctors aren't prepared for a mouth cancer, better than it's longer than the statistical age of sort of someone in their 70s who doesn't have a smoke. Well, I didn't have a smoke. And also I'm not a heavy drinker either. So my doctor was just probably something else. But completed a referral and then sent me over to have a biopsy. But initially, so like that whole period, my only symptoms were of this flaw that would come and go. And then it's not until when my sister saw it, because then I also had an ulcer underneath my tongue as well. So I had one at the top at the back, and then another one underneath. Nothing else, no ear pain or jaw pain that fellow contact to the patients that I've spoken to that they've had. I didn't have any of that.
And sorry, how long between when the first pain happened and when you got your biopsy done? How long a time was that?
So that was about September, and then the biopsy was it's like the 14th of May. So what's that? It's about sort of 8 months or something so forth.
And when you found out you had mouth cancer, what was that like?
Oh man. My first thought was, oh God, it could only happen to me. Uh, and then I worried about my job, like how am I going to pay the bills? My job at the time, I was a recruitment specialist, so I'm interviewing people all day. Um, and when I'm not interviewing, I'm training people how to interview. So my job was like 90% talking. And I was like, how, I've been doing this role for so long now. I'm too old to pretend for something where I might not be able to talk. How's that gonna work? Look, so all these rocks and wins and whys were just like rushing through my head. And I remember turning around to like my family. My family turned up in the afternoon, and I was just like, I am so sorry that I am ill. And I was just like, what are you talking about? I'm so sorry. This is going to be hard. Our maternal grandmother had oral cancer and passed away from that in like the 90s. And it was like that, what she went through was hard work. And oh my gosh, and then there's something similar. So having that knowledge of her her treatment plan and then the outcome was terrifying. And yeah, I was like I was just so apologetic that I got ill and was gonna put my family through this. Yeah, hard, very hard.
Yeah. And how was your treatment process? How did you find it?
I the first steps were awful. Um, so the hospital that I met with, so this is my brother, I live in Hertfordshire, and I'm on the cusp of London. So I sort of ended up going around quite a few hospitals, as they booked as close appointments, so they're not hanging around. And so I sort of bounced through a few hospitals that had the same consultant and oncologist. And so one hospital I went to, one appointment that I went to, my husband and my brother were with me, and it was then they told me of my life expectancy and what the treatment plan was and how it was going to be. And the consultant turned around and said the words, the treatment is going to be brutal. And I kind of appreciate her honesty for that because they don't want to mince around that. They don't want to sugarcoat it. Um, but at the same time, what she then said afterwards, for me, was the wrong thing to say. And that was saying that with the severity of my cancer, so my cancer was stage 4, it was aggressive. So every appointment had grown a bit more, had grown a bit more. And so that by that appointment, she said that they would have to remove my entire tongue, and I wouldn't be able to talk. So I would have a permanent fat in a stoma, and I would need a permanent feeding tube. And I, I sat there, I'm just like, what? I can't I can't comprehend now what my life is going to be like with additional twos and wires. And then she said to me that I had less than 30% chance of survival to get to 2 years. And asked me if I that I need to go home and think about whether I want to continue with this treatment or whether I want to not. And I was 39 at the time. I'd been married to my husband for 3 years. And that tore me apart. That was then my brother burst into tears, my husband burst into tears, and as I was standing on the platform of the train to go home of the station, I had that thought of, you know what, if I jump further, I'm not putting anyone through that stress. I'm not putting anyone through the emotions and the anxieties. And I'm not going to have no voice. I'm not going to have tubes and whatever pumped through me. I can end it all right now. And then I sort of looked at the people around on the platform and it was quite full. And I looked at my husband and my brother who was just very emotional from the miss I just had. And I was like, oh man, I can't be selfish. I can't do this to them as well. So I need to I need to change my mindset now and there's a way to help myself be as strong as I can to go on this journey. And at that appointment, I'd been offered a second opinion at another hospital that wasn't part of the chain of hospitals, a part of that trust. And so the following week, I ended up going to St George's Hospital in Tooting and met the team there. And ironically, I was born in Tooting. So I was born in that hospital 39 years before. And it kind of felt a bit like this feels right. And this is before I've met the team. I'm still feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. Like, are they going to tell me anything different, or am I going to get that same sort of treatment? Am I going to get that those same words? And we walked into the room, and the atmosphere felt different. The atmosphere with the surgical team and the oncologist and the consultant just felt incredible. It was buzzing. And I was like, yeah, we'll do this, and this. The tracheostomy was staying for about 7 to 10 days. The sedation tube will come out, then you don't have to eat. And I was like, they're not permanent. Oh God, no, not permanent at all. And I went, well, I did for source. And I went, they don't know is the answer. It all depends on how the surgery goes and how physio goes and all this. But our aim is to have him talking and to have the SNLS put in on the bit. And you know what? I would have signed up there and then. But then I got invited to do a clinical trial with Marston, who I then had another appointment with them the following week. So my appointments now are kind of like up and down. So I have absolutely loads because I've seen so many different people, which I know isn't normal. It's not the usual process. And then that following this, I met with Laura Marston, who invited me to join an immunotherapy clinical trial. And they said that if I wasn't selected for it, they'd have still treated me as their patient. And so I signed up with them. And then a bit later, I was selected to be on the clinical trial.
Wow.
And that took me up to, oh gosh, to the end of June. So yeah, pleasure times. So it was about 7 minutes after I'd been diagnosed.
Wow. That's a lot. Oh gosh, I'm pleased that you got that second opinion, because it's like night and day what you were told at that second doctor's.
Yeah, very much so.
So getting on a clinical trial, what was that like? Because you're the first person I've spoke to that's had that experience. How was that?
It was really good. And really get to know the team of people that we work with. That almost become a family because you're with them for such a long period of time. So I had the trial that I was on was to have 2 infusions of immunotherapy prior to surgery. to see whether or not it would help shrink the tumour. And for me, that didn't work. So my tumour was so aggressive that within 12 weeks, it had gone from like a 5 centimetre long tumour to a 9 centimetre long tumour. So it nearly doubled in size. And it took the entire width and depth of my tongue, so it inhabited the whole of it. But with the other part of the trial was that I was then to have 15 infusions of immunotherapy post-surgery. And again, it was really easy. Like I had the only side effect I had at the time was tiredness, and that lasted about 24 hours. I know some other people have had it a little bit worse. Some I know they lost their hair from it, and some else got some blisters. But I had quite an easy ride from it until about halfway through, and then I got some side effects, and I was unable to continue with the trial when I hit, I think it was the 10th infusion. I didn't make it to the 15th. But overall, it was good. It was a positive experience. The team was really sort of informative, and I had like questions on my phone that I was asking them though. So how long does it take? What happens? What can I expect? I don't know. I've read about dip then thrombosis and blood clots and things, and so how do I do this? How do I do that? What can I do to support this? And so because I kept asking all of these questions, they just were very happy to share with me. And from that, I felt very valued as a person, and I felt that they understood the type of person that I was. For my quest for knowledge to know what was happening to my body. So yeah, it was a very positive experience.
That's really good. That's really good. So obviously we connected online, and I've seen some of your what was that like, the actual surgery experience, if you don't mind sharing?
No, not at all. I said this to anyone who goes through any form of surgeries, with a SID. So they have the easiest part, and that's turning up, have sedation, and then wake up. Waking up though, that was odd. Um, because you have the nursing team are telling you who you are, where you are, what time it is, what day it is. And your first response is to go, okay then. And of course I couldn't. So I remember I was aware of like my hammers and bandages up because they took out the written instruction. There is a muscle in the arm, which is quite common. So that was quite heavy and solid with the bandages. I remember seeing the tracheostomy in there, and I was like, okay. But then there was like a burning pen that I couldn't work out what it was, and I couldn't ask. Um, and so I ended up grabbing someone with my right hand, with my right fingers, and pointing to my abdomen, and they went, "Oh, it's where they put the spindle off." And then there's no button for pen this, which I pressed, and then so that's it. But it's kind of like once I knew what that was, I was fine. And so there, trying to spit in the time talks was odd, and they wouldn't give me any mirrors for 3 days. And interestingly, when I had my phone, I didn't look. I didn't have a look to see what I looked like because it didn't cross my mind. But when I came out of ICU, as soon as I was able to go to the bathroom, I had a look, and it wasn't awful. It was kind of so I had stitches down my chin where that they had to break open my jaw, and it was I was shocked at how neat and tidy it was. So it's just like a little zigzag. And then and then I'm not sure what this is here, but so my father's down there, and then it's air, and then it was all nice and this. It wasn't. It was pillow rooms, but it wasn't horrifying. It wasn't something out of a horror film. It was nice and tidy. And then I had my flat there. It was frustrating not being able to talk. But I did have a whiteboard that I sent there, and the whiteboard pen. I went to about 5 or 6 pens in hospital, but they were an absolute lifesaver. It meant that I was able to communicate without typing on my phone or anywhere, and helpful. Yeah, so it was good. Didn't know by mouth though, that's awful. Especially when when the people in the room that they're in can have food. Their nose can smell a top of tea from about a mile away.
I
Or
can
the night
imagine.
or my husband came in one morning to see me and he had a coffee, and I was like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah, yeah, madness.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I can't imagine. I'd never thought about you're in a room with loads of other people and they're enjoying a nice cup of tea, and you have to.
Yeah, once I came out of ICU, they put me in my own room, and that was fab. Like I really appreciated that. Um, but then, just before I was discharged, I spent 2 nights on a shed ward, and there was one woman there, talking to her, talking to her daughter about the roast chicken dinner she's going to have, and I was just like, this is torture. This is torture. And there's nothing I could do. I was learning how to sip water at the time. It was like, I'll get there one day.
What was your meal that you were looking forward to when you were unable to have food? Was you like, oh, I'm gonna have a nice like I don't know lasagna or whatever?
Interesting. It was potatoes. Like my husband and I absolutely love Mexican food. And peppers and tomatoes and onions are like there are tons of those in the bit. So chicken fajita with sour cream, guacamole, nice and spicy. Yeah, that'll work for me. Yeah. When I finally was able to have that, oh, it's like the best meal on earth.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a good choice as well. Fajitas is always a nice shout. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
talking of food, obviously I've seen your recipe book. Do you want to talk about that? Because that was quite a cool thing to do, I imagine.
Yeah, so oh gosh, I've it's because of my food background. I've always been interested in food, and not just making it, but like how to make things taste better, how different if you put something differently or prepare it differently, you can get other flavours out of it, you can get more complex flavours. And as I said before, I've always liked trying to get people to eat food. So a friend of mine came to my wedding a few years ago, and I know she's a vegan but also has some other health issues. And it was so cool to be able to take her by the hand to where there was a massive buffet. It was like 4 tables long, and there was an entire table that was gluten-free and vegan for her, and for other people, but to take her and go, "This can have all of this," and she was just like, "Oh my God." So realizing how sociable food is and how other cancer can take that away from you, is really hard. Like that was quite a challenge with my husband and I, where he'd go out for meals, he'd have dinners and stuff, and now I'm at home watching him have food. And I've got a milkshake or something like Ensol or something like that. And when I realised that like, when I was given the go ahead to swallow liquids, um, I started to make my own soup. And a friend of mine, a proper friend, so sort of said to them, well, why didn't you start writing this down and help other people? And I was like, okay then, that sounds like a good idea. But never got round to it. And then I got made redundant in lockdown, and so I have all of this time on my hands where I was feeling amazing, but couldn't do anything. I was stuck in the house. So I started to blend my own soups, and that sort of came from my husband eating a pepperoni pizza one night, and I was like, I need carbs, I need something to sustain me. And so I worked out how to make pepperoni pizza soup, and that does make me feel like this has a pizza. It's bizarre how it's worked so well. And then from soups, I moved on to like light bites, because when you are learning how to eat, the appetite's there, but it takes so long in the initial stages that, the families might take you 4 hours to eat. So I then started putting things like bits of pate with soft foods so that you thought it's soft, but you can find to it and start building up that old feeling of satisfying chewing. And then moved on to like sauces, because sauces and breads play a massive role. And then I did some meals which are then for the soft palate, but have a bit of texture. And then there's those who, if they're all on this diet, then this is who, if a little bit further on, then listen to this. And then I did puddings in as well. And I ended up making Fish, who is the CEO of the Swallows. They got introduced for today during lockdown, and he said, well, if you make the books, then we'll pay for it and we'll publish it. And that's what happened. And all the proceeds went to them. And in sort of 14 months, they sold all the books and made about £5,000 for the Swallows.
That's
So,
amazing.
and oh, just phenomenal. It's done around the world. There's speech and language therapist in Dubai who is translating it into Arabic for her patients. It's done to Australia and America, over Europe. Like, it is done so far across the world. I am amazed. And it's not just used by people who've been through other cancer, but I know there's a friend who works with dementia patients, and she's used it for that because, like, pepperoni pizza soup is good at invoking memories, but it doesn't have the risk of choking for them. I thought Spitzerland's therapist contacted me through social media, asking me for advice about food from that book to then help their patients. So, yeah, blown me away at just how two people made a suggestion, and then I was made redundant, and then I may as well do the book then. And yeah, amazing, so amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's like, yeah, it's traveled far and wide now and helping loads and loads of people. That you can feel really proud of where you've
I'm
come.
yeah, I'm so proud. Like, from something that completely changed my life to making something positive out of it, and then being able to help others. I just feel so very proud that I was able to do that, and and I had people who put their trust in me and believe that I could do it. And so with all of those people that did sort of give me words of encouragement, I'm very thankful for them. Because without them, I think I probably would have given up. And just no, I can't do that. But yeah, incredible.
It is. It really is. So, as a nice note to end on, if you had to give any advice using your experiences to someone that is either concerned about a symptom that they found, or they've found out that they have tongue cancer, or they're at any point on their journey, what would be your one piece of advice?
It would be to take the time. The whole recovery process and the treatment process is slow. And it hurts. Like Rosa says, it hurts. And it's so slow that they think that the pain will never go, or the endless mucus will never go, when actually it's only for a short period. There's a time to rest. Give yourself time to recover and rehabilitate. Because when you start building up the strength to learn how to age again, and to start finding things that work for you, you find professionals to like the new normal. But I'm just like, it's whatever works for you. There will be times where one day it doesn't work. And that's because of the nature of our mouth and the treatment has been through. Takes you back a few steps. So try not to get frustrated over that. Rest. And if the body then, I need a moment to have that moment, take a day off or this off, whatever it is, but then go back to it. And you'll find that that bit, the more likely to be able to do it again. There's the amount of times where I threw food away because I could never eat this, and my husband had to hug me because I burst into tears because I put Tabasco in the soup, not expecting it to burn, and my word, it was horrific. Well, now I can have a little bit of Tabasco in the soup. It just took 2.5 years to get there, but it's there. And without trying again later on, I would never be able to eat the foods that I can eat. And I'm not restricted on what I can eat. When I thought I'd never talk again, and tried singing along to songs and things, I was like, I'm never gonna do this. But now here I am talking to you, and I have my channels that I talk to people in. So take time to rest. It's so important, because it really does help in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I couldn't think of a lovelier note to end on, and I will leave you be to enjoy your afternoon. And just thank you for talking. And I'm gonna have to get that pepperoni soup recipe off you, because that's really piqued my interest. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, I mean, the thing with oral cancer, it's visible, and it's visible in the way that patients talk and the way that they eat and everything, because it's the bit of us that's on show. With other cancers, you wouldn't know that somebody was a survivor of, breast cancer, bowel cancer, in other parts of the body. You don't really, unless they tell you. Whereas with oral cancer, it is something that is in our faces, really, literally. So it is really, really good that somebody can shed a light on this, so that we are aware of the difficulties that perhaps other people don't think of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And yeah, from listening to her, she's just such an incredible person, and just shows how you can recover, and not only just recover, but adapt and use your experience to help other people, which is, it takes a lot of courage in just that, never mind getting through the treatment, but being able to put yourself out there is just, yeah, I'm in awe of the people that we speak to, more so the survivors than anyone else. And
Definitely.
she's just
Definitely.
brilliant.
And it's giving something back that, nobody expects to get cancer. I mean, nobody is sort of, you're not expecting it to be you. But when it is, and you hear about people being able to help other people and share their experiences, and they get so much out of it as well, it's a real like you say, you know, it's awe-inspiring.
Absolutely. And we're really happy to have been able to speak to her, and that she felt comfortable enough with us to share her story is lovely as well. Um, and of course, we'll link all of her information below so that if you want to go and have a look at her amazing videos and learn more about her, you can do. I recommend it. She's a brilliant person. And yeah, if you want to learn more about the campaign, then go to mouthcancer.org or across all of our social medias as well. And yeah, just thank you again to Laura, really, for being able to speak to us. And thanks, Karen, for joining me. And yeah, we'll speak to you soon.